in a sheep brain, you've got two sides like this. They've cut away the dura mater from most of the brain, but here underneath the brain, you can still see some of it. So it's like this sort of grayish, kind of like a shiny, leathery material. And so you have to imagine that, like in the live sheep brain, that's existing all the way around the brain. It's just been cut. And so that's what that is, dura mater. And I forgot to show you this the first time, but this, whenever you do this and you kind of like flash the brain around to the light, you can see there's like a shiny substance on the outside that looks kind of like saran wrap. That's actually the pia mater. It's the innermost meninx, which is one of the meninges that clings really tightly to the surface of the brain, almost like you wrapped it up in some plastic wrap. And as far as the arachnoid mater, you can't see that on here. That's that in-between layer. And so here in the cerebrum, you have two different sides. Both of them are cerebral hemispheres. So if you would imagine this was like the globe, this would be one hemisphere, this would be the other one, divided into the center by the longitudinal fissure. And then on the outside here in the cerebral cortex, you sort of have these hilltops or plateaus or ridges. Each one of those is called a gyrus. And I don't know, I think there's different pronunciations, but plural is gyri, I think is how you would say it, or maybe gyri, if you want to say it like that. This G-Y-R-I. And in between those, you have these grooves. The singular term is a sulcus, and the plural term, you could say sulci or sulci. So all these little dark areas are sort of like the valleys in between these guys. Those are the sulci. And also, since we still have dura mater right here, this little bulgy area right here is the pituitary gland, which is also called the hypophysis. And so if you lift this open like this, you can still see this is a cross-section through the pituitary gland. But if you look over here at this other brain, so if you were to get this one on the practical, and the pituitary gland is real fragile in these dead sheep brains, and pretty much whenever you take away the dura mater, this doesn't have any more dura mater left, the pituitary gland is gone, but that's about right where it would be right there. So let's go ahead and switch over to this brain, actually. Okay, so it's a nice cross-section here through the brain, and you can see inside the cerebellum here, you have this area of white matter that looks like literally just like a tree. That's called arbor vitae or arbor vitae. It means tree of life. This is the cerebral cortex up in here, and you have these areas, these spaces in the brain that are called ventricles, and there's 4 different ones. So this is one of the lateral ventricles inside here, and the third ventricle is sort of can be kind of hard to see, but this is part of it up in here. To really see it good, you need to look at a diagram in the book, or have both sides of the brain closed up, but then you can't see anything. And then the 4th ventricle is down here, in between the medulla oblongata and the cerebellum, and you can see that better on the human brain model. But inside here, and the sheep brains that we got out of the bucket today, I can't really see the choroid plexus, but here inside there's these capillary beds inside the ventricles, and each one is called a choroid plexus, and they're filtering out and secreting cerebrospinal fluid. It's going to be filling up these ventricles, these spaces inside the brain, and also filling up this space that's on the outside of the brain, held in by the meninges. And this area, this is one of the lateral ventricles. This roof of the lateral ventricle is called the corpus callosum. And in this area down here is it's encompassed by just about by this circle. That's called the thalamus. And right in the center of it, taking up a good portion of the thalamus, is the interthalamic adhesion or intermediate mass. And if you do this, you can sort of see there's like a texture change right there. And you can see the interthalamic adhesion a lot better on the human brain model, but you can definitely see it in here. It's just sort of like you have to sort of do this and see where the texture changes from this real smooth, shiny stuff to some of this, it's a little more rough looking. So this area below the thalamus is called the hypothalamus. Remember, hypo means below, so that's literally says right where it is. You've got the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and this is the optic chiasma right here. And then as far as, let's see, the pineal gland goes, let's go back over here to this other model, or this other brain. So this is not the pineal gland. That's something else that we're not concerned about here for inside the lab. This is the pineal body or pineal gland right there. This guy. And then the pons. So if you look on the brain model, like on the human brain, the pons is a lot bigger than here in the sheep. But this little bulge here on the outside and this little cross section through it, that's the pons. This is the medulla oblongata in here. And I believe that's about it, right? Okay.
Tons of good picture. Tour guide was alright, I guess.
How was the beach?
The beach was super lame. It's like swimming in Galveston.
And you found some chickens in there?
What? Chicken.
You found some chickens in there?
Got some chicken.